Good to be back in Drammen. It's a growing city, small size, and an exciting city, but also with some challenging issues. I would like to start with my session. It's also talk about a little bit about tolerance as a launching pad for what I'm going to share with you. And it also would be helpful for the organizers of the committee. I have a problem with the word tolerance. I know Suleiman and Eva, I have discussed at length on the notion. It's an intolerable word, as if an intolerable word. It's an attitude that awaits a complete rejection, actually. I tolerate because there's no other option but to bear the pain of holding what is de facto I don't like. I don't like you, but I tolerate you. Basically, I bite my lip, and that's tolerating other whom I don't like. So it's a temporary liking. Tolerance is a temporary liking over an embedded resentment. There is an embedded resentment, but I tolerate and I wait. An idea, a concept, a soft word for an angry approach. A soft word for an angry approach. Is there any other way that we could define? I was thinking about this a lot when the invitation came to me a long time ago. What then is tolerance? It's a higher form of endurance. I have started to rethink about it. Higher form of endurance, a learned behavior, a pattern to cope with difference, a smart way to live in a multicultural society. It is a cultural competence. Endurance is a cultural competence. And endurance is a skill to be cultivated over a period of time to understand and respond, my friends, to complex human behavior. Tolerance, therefore, is also endurance is a creative approach, an alternative to win over difference and extreme forms of living. Endurance is not, it's a way to recognize the dignity of difference, as the former Rabbi Jonathan Sachs explains to us in the UK. Tolerance as endurance is a life skill in a world of difference, a way of life in the world of diversity, perhaps a method to live and to let live. But history of religion in my survey is a history of violence. If you study the history of violence in the world, if any university studies that, and that is interrelated, it coexists with the history of religions. And people say that the history of human civilization is the history of wars. We may disagree, but there is a hard core truth about it. And that is why perhaps there is a revulsion of religion. It irritates probably half humanity, despises it, rejects it, vomits it, damn with it. But I have two cases. For us to look at quickly. One is the cell-based extremism and violence. Al-Qaeda inspired. Was this group religiously motivated? We argued in the morning, yes and no. I agree with them. Yes and no. Yes and no. Both 9/11 and 7/7 in London were cell-based atrocities. They contained religious connotations. Were they Muslims or not? Who among us can they say that they were not Muslims? That they didn't pray 5 times a day? And they observed the holy month of Ramadan. Who among us can say that they were not Muslims? When religion is interpreted in deviant ways, and it turns out to be an ideology is a task-led and task-goaled. Therefore, murder becomes a strategy. Murder is very simple. It's like eating a wafer, because it's part of your being, killing is just another aspect. Therefore, and that is based also on grievance redress, that I want to redress my grievances. And it's a revenge motivation. There is a revenge aspect to it. And also pseudo-justice, justice based on a particular interpretation of Torah, a particular interpretation of holy canon of the Bible, a particular impression of certain hadiths and the Al-Quran itself. Therefore, violence becomes a means. It's a very simple piece of cake. It becomes a means to achieve the ideal. Therefore, violence is justified. Who on earth can disapprove? Violence is justified as a liberating motive. It's a liberating motive. And a very comfort zone. I'll come back to that. And therefore, they look for community to support, to thrive it. Therefore, charismatic entrepreneurship of recruitment. Keeping Torah on the back of my head and Al-Quran with me, Bible with me, the Rig Veda with me, so that I can create an identity endowment of someone out there. Identity endowment to someone who perhaps did not have an identity. A pride of life to carry a gun when I don't even carry a school bag. That gives AK-47, gives me a life support, achievement. I command. In West Yorkshire, I cannot command anything. In Malmö, I cannot command anything, but I can command with an AK-47. Altruism, so why not? It is the otherwordness. And that helps me through Torah. It's about the other. Altruism, that I want to do my best for my community. And it is fulfilling task, self-fulfilling. It fulfills my dream of being nobody to somebody. So why not take a flight and be paid and be proud? Be part of ISIS or any other transnational terror group. Are they victors in violence or violent victims? You know all of them. You know all of them. I don't need. I can describe each one of them in detail, but you know all of them. These were linked to one another. These were linked to one another to commit terror. So my second one. About lone wolves, the former Prime Minister spoke about lone wolves. I'm more interested in this group. Right now, my study is on these guys. Who are they? Who are they? It is someone who commits violent acts in support of some group, somewhere, a movement or an ideology, but does so alone, outside of any command structure and without material assistance from any group. There are 3 distinct hangovers that I found in these guys. One is a psychopathological. You refer to that in some sense. It's a psychopathological. There is no doubt about it. But it's not necessarily the fact. But there are social derelicts. There are some coming from unknown backgrounds, broken families, all kinds of. And the third is narcissistic, that it is self-focused, that it's all about me. Narcissistic. So these are 3 levels where I found in my work, both with the Tamil Tigers, LTT, and some case studies while I was in the UK and in Australia. So in-house radicalization into extreme measures is a very small thing. It's like eating a cucumber, supporting a desperate cause. I must support. It's like a charity. You give your pounds, your crowns. So I must support with my life with distinctly drastic intentions. It is an impulsive plunge by lone wolves. An impulsive, you take any of them. You take Breivik, impulsive, into individual, and take an individual responsibility for a heinous crime. Why 77? I could have done 70 times 7. He just regrets that it was only 77. No remorse. No remorse. Certainly psychopathological. In forensic studies and in clinical psychology, they are designated as people who have absolutely no remorse. And they set up for a campaign to deliver justice because you and I, we don't deliver justice. We talk. We deliver justice before you do your conferences. A self-imposed liberator. A self-imposed liberator. You know all of them. Lone wolves from United States. McLeave, Utah, liberator, and the Beltway sniper of the United States, and Andreas Lubitz, and Mr. Goldstein, who killed 29 worshippers in a mosque. And his graveyard became a devotional place for extreme Orthodox Jews until it was removed by the State of Israel. So, where do you go from here? Where do you go from here? Pursue, catch, and kill. Yeah, some did that. Pursue, catch, and kill. And still they do that. They still do that. What is the smarter way to handle extremism? My suggestion is we should use both hard and soft strategies to pursue the unreached. We have to sit and talk how we do that. Increase the change of intelligence gathering. There is an intelligence officer here processing and what to do with information. Not go after a Brazilian innocent man in London underground when you have real culprits out there. Increase community awareness of real dangers. Engage him as the best and are the best source of information. Deploy media smarter than the terror networks. Now, someone referred to Al-Qaeda networks. But let us do that. Create cells and lone wolves as a counter strategy. Create cells. Not stay in the parlors of Oslo or London. Create cells, send them. Create lone wolves as a counter strategy. As a counter strategy. That is how I would suggest to do that. Rehabilitate those caught. Expose them to their victim's plight. And that is reconciliation. Expose them to the victim's plight. A best way to rehabilitate. Deal with the terror criminal, but deliver kindness to the family that is out there at home. Perspectives. What can be attempted, friends? What can be attempted? Terrorist is also a human being, but with a deviant view of life and a way of life. Discover, let us discover the ideology. Name it, someone said. Name it. You name it. Dismantle it both by hard and soft methods. I'm saying, deal with it. A criminal should be treated in the way that society must be protected. So, move from radical punitive justice process to a restorative justice. That you restore, not just punitive. Hang them. No, a restorative justice, because it must be with a procedural justice formula. We must do it step by step by step. So rehabilitation becomes part of inclusion, integration, reintegration. It's a very important strategy. Let us adopt a soft approach to convince that she is also a victim of violence, that a terrorist is also a victim of violence. Not total incarceration, but possible rehabilitation. Delegitimize the ideology. Expose what the true struggle for justice could bring to him and to his own community. Motivate a different way of life, a phase of life, a different chance. If in detention, give him another chance, but must abandon violence. There is dichotomy of violence, of course. Who has the monopoly of violence? Who has the monopoly? The state has the monopoly of violence. And the counter strategy is that violent strategy. I'm afraid it is counterproductive. A tyrannical state can be overthrown through use of violence. Hence, it must be good. That's the position of the terror group. A tyrannical state must be thrown away by the use of violence. Therefore, it must be good. Can terrorist group justify use of violence and claim as monopoly of violence that belongs to them? None has monopoly of violence. Violence destroys human reasonableness, rejects the other that you referred to, rejects the other, demonizes in order to eliminate. You demonize, then it is easy to eliminate because you can eliminate not a saint, but a demon. Therefore, it is good. Therefore, it is good. Violence is an aberration of all right human conduct, my friends. What makes a society dysfunctional? I quote Gandhi. Not that I agree with everything of Gandhi, but this I like. Politics without principles, he rejects it. Commerce without morality, wealth without work, education without character, science without humanity, pleasure without conscience, worship without sacrifice. I hope Gandhiji will forgive me. I'm adding the sixth one. The next one is mine. Religion without true sense of the other, whose beliefs are different ones. Thank you.